said about the Quran that it was one of the most difficult readings that he'd ever done, and that this is a masterpiece of rhetoric. Where do we put Homer and Shakespeare and others? And Arabs invariably will say, well, the problem is you don't know Arabic. And to a large extent, as somebody who spent a great deal of time learning an incredibly difficult language, I would definitely concur with that statement. The Quran is very much an Arabic book in that it was revealed in the language of the Arabs, but it is not an Arabian book. And that's a very important distinction. The Quran has only one chapter that in some ways is similar to the Bible, which is a much easier book to read for Western people because it's very linear, which is the 12th chapter of Joseph or Yusuf, which is a complete story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. The way the Quran works is sometimes it's here, sometimes it's there. In fact, in Arabic, there is a rhetorical device that we actually, as far as I know, do not use in the English language. It's called iltifat. And it is to switch, for instance, you go from you to I to he. And so in switching in that way, it can be quite disruptive for a Western reader and make it very difficult. Why is it doing that? Part of the reason that the commentators give is that God has all perspectives. And so to speak only in first person is to speak only from one perspective. But another reason is like a Zen koan, it's intended to wake you up. Hence it's called iltifat. I'll give you an example. In the opening chapter of the Quran, Al-Fatiha, it begins in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Praise be to God, the Lord of the worlds. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim reiterates the merciful, the compassionate. Maliki Yawmiddin or Maliki Yawmiddin, there's two variants, or there's actually more than two, but those are the two dominant ones. The possessor, the master of the day of judgment, the sovereign of the day of judgment, or the day the debts fall due. And then it goes, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. It switches to a direct address. To you we worship. So it begins by talking about God as if God was not present, and suddenly it moves in which you're directly addressing God. The commentators say that the reason for this is when you enter into the prayer, the heart takes time to enter into the divine presence. And at the point that you say, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, it is the point that you should be in the divine presence. So it opens, God is greater, and then you begin praising God, and then you enter into your discourse with God. So one of the interesting things about our time is that we have this deconstructionist movement in literary studies where they show the inherent contradictions in a lot of literary works. One of the challenges of the Quran is to show the contradictions in it, because it says if it was from other than God, it would have many contradictions in it. And there are several tafsirs that deal with what they call the deep structure of the Quran, that it has a superficial randomness, but the deeper you go into it, the more structure you begin to take from it. This obviously takes a long time to do. The example that the Quran uses is that it says, "La uqsimu bi mawaqi' nujum" in Surah Al-Waqi'ah. I swear by the positions of the stars. That also means the positions of the verses in the Quran. It's tawriya in Arabic rhetoric. It's a double entendre. So it can mean the position of the stars. It can also mean the position of the verses in the Quran. And it says, وَإِنَّهُ لَقَسَمٌ لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ. If you but knew, this is a vast oath. One of the things about the stars, as somebody who spent time studying astronomy and lived in the Sahara in West Africa, and one of the reasons why I believe that atheism is much more widespread today than at any other time is because of artificial light. Because I truly believe that if people could actually see the stars in all their glory without any light, as I have seen them, on occasion it reduced me to tears just looking at the stars. You know, the beautiful verse in the Bible that says, the heavens declare your glory. You can really understand that verse if you're out in the middle of the Sahara on a completely moonless night with all the stars, as if you could reach out and pluck them from that canopy. And Plato said, if it wasn't for the stars, how could we come to know God? I would love that our society would just turn off the lights every once in a while, maybe once a month, have all the lights in the cities just turned off so people could see the stars and be reminded of something. The word desire, in its root meaning, means to seek out the stars, that we are heavenly directed by our nature, hence getting high.